Hi, this is James Gunn of CineTechGeek, and I'm at NAB 2016 with Bruce Devlin.
Bruce Devlin, that's a good pronunciation.
And we're here to talk about IMF. Now, IMF has been developing over the years, and it is now at a stage where it is in use by a number of manufacturers. But we're here with Bruce here because he's part of the standards community and a big part of the IMF development. So I wanted to talk to him and give us an update of where IMF is.
Thank you, James. So IMF, the Interoperable Mastering Format, the standards have been out there for a little while. We're doing work on the standards, but most importantly at the moment, we're doing interoperability trials between different vendors, different manufacturers who are creating IMF products. Now, in a way, vendors will only do something if there's a market for it.
That's right.
And this is a very good thing for IMF, because at the last interoperability event, which I moderated in Amsterdam, the first of the European interoperability events, we had about 20 different vendors with 20 different IMF products, all trying to interoperate to show that this SMPTE standard is there, it's ready, it works. And we had some fantastic interoperability results where most devices making IMF bundles worked with most of the devices receiving those IMF bundles. And most of the problems that we were discovering were these tiny little tweaks in product and not problems in the specification. And that's a really important thing, that the specification is firm, the specification can be implemented, and it's a robust specification.
And it's solid. So we want a solid technology, fully tested before we widely accept it. Now let's get into a little bit more detail. This is CineTechGeek. So IMF is made up, it's like the DCP, but it's more produced for the television industry. Mm-hmm. Now it's made up of making with different codecs and different applications.
Yep.
So what's our current stance on what applications are currently in use and what's likely to come in the future?
So the number one application that's being used at the moment is the J2K application, because the big movie studios, all of the movie studios and Netflix and a bunch of others have been pushing that as like, this is the first one, this is the first domino in a chain of different applications that's going to help us establish IMF. So the thing about IMF is you put the video in a video file, the audio's in an audio file, the caption's in a caption file, and using an XML document called the CPL, or composition playlist, you can then basically create an interchangeable service master that's basically an edit list with a random number of tracks, with a random number of edits that any device can read. So it's a truly interchangeable, automatable function.
Right. And this is one of the concepts that I really want to put forward, people watching this, and why IMF is such a revolutionary product. It's not just that it sort of replaces how we use tapes, but it also replaces how we do deliverables today, which is a far more expansive version than many years ago when tape was really the thing to do. In some ways, IMF is like when you're doing lots of deliverables and you're in a certain editing package, you save off lots of different timelines for all your different deliverables. But in this situation, you're actually saving the timelines into the master.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So just imagine that. So you've got one master and it has multiple timelines depending on the deliverable you need for the particular region. That is amazing. It's like standardizing not just the media format, but standardizing how we store and put the media format together so you can put all those requirements into the one, document, not so much a document, but a file format. Yes.
So I'm going to be really rude here and talk about dollars and cents.
Yes.
I know this is CineTechGeek, but let's do Cine Dollar Geek at the moment.
Yes.
At the end of the day, the technology is only there to deliver business benefit.
That's right.
And if I look at a production, whether it's a big production or a small production, you spend a lot of money checking that you have made the right thing according to what the producer and the director wanted. Now, if you make mistakes, and we all make mistakes in production, right, you have to go back, you have to fix stuff, you have to re-QC.
Yes, right.
Now, a good friend of mine, Richard Welsh, he was telling me that in using IMF on a recent production, he was saving up to 40% on the overall QC costs, because if he'd had a particular little IMF segment for the master, which had to be gone and checked and fixed up again, he was only having to QC a short 10 or 15 second segment and not re-rendering a 3-hour QuickTime just to go and check the middle again. And when you add that up over the whole production, you save a huge amount of money, and that could be the difference between making a profit and not making a profit.
Yes, and I really want to emphasize this, because in this world of where budgets are tight, and you're usually quoting a job as a particular cost. So these random things that can happen, like you may have 4 mistakes in your credit roll, meaning you have to re-render it and re-QC it 4 times. That can just wipe out your profit for that job.
Absolutely.
And it's very hard to budget for that potential problem.
Indeed, it's like you can't sandbag too much nowadays, otherwise you won't get the job in the first place.
That's right.
And the problems can come and bite you.
So going IMF means that you can very much mitigate that risk.
Yeah.
You can be more accurate with your budgeting, and it makes you more competitive when you're in your competitive market.
And the other thing that IMF brings is we know, because the big guys do it, that if they tailor the content for a particular delivery platform, like they might have a slightly different 16:9 edit line compared to the 4:3 edit line. They might actually substitute different clips because they work better in the different aspect ratios. You might actually pull a certain scene out for a particular territory. If you're going to the UK and America, we're culturally different. You might actually do stuff that's different. So IMF allows you to represent that master by having different inserts for each one of those different edits for whatever reason you're doing it. And because you're representing the master in this format, you can then render each one of those different elements into a different codec for the different platforms that you're trying to render them to. But because it's in the master, you only QC it once. You don't have to go and QC all that other stuff. So you're saving multiple times for each different platform you're trying to deliver to. You're saving by using IMF as your service master every time you do it.
And this is, we're talking about IMF today, now. You can do this today. There's other things, like the OPLs, which allow you to run to other formats as programmed by the deliverables, etc. That's still coming, and that'll be another boom in terms of deliverable and cutting costs there. But this is what we can do today with IMF, and this is why I wanted to really bang it into your production, the small production companies' minds, that get onto this, because it'll save you money, it'll make you more competitive, and it'll make us and bring us down to a standard, going through standards to getting to the screen. And I'm going to have another interview with Howard soon to talk about standards, but I think we've done enough now with IMF, and let people sit out there and think about it. But thank you very much, Bruce.
Pleasure, James.
I very much appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
And that's James Gardner at the Cinti stand. It's at NAB 2016. Bye for now.